Part 4 of the boat, the big mixing bowl ending. Today I'm having an up day. I know that there will be more down days ahead, but I'm going to enjoy today for what it is. I have had a horrible and very upsetting week with unnecessary threats of legal action and having had to sign the divorce papers that were served on me. But today I'm putting that behind me. I worked out that one of the things that has made it really hard on me for the past few months has been the feeling of being under constant attack. Attacked when she was shutting me out when all the red flags were going off in the months prior to the D-bomb. Attacked when she had to convince herself that I was the worst sort of man and a terrible husband so she could say to herself that she just had to leave me. Attacked when she submitted a divorce petition with some of the most hateful vitriolic statements my lawyer had seen in divorce papers in a long time. Attacked when she felt guilty. Attacked when the victim narrative started to slip and she panicked. Attacked when the kids, particularly Dee, turned against her sneaking around and she blamed me for it. Attacked when I exposed her. Attacked when it doesn't seem to be going so well with OM. Attacked now because her life isn't panning out the way she had hoped and it's all my fault. But now that I have worked that out, I can just treat her like a petulant teenager who hits out at any excuse. I want it to be my choice whether to catch her or not, whether to discard her or whether to take her back and go for R. That depends in part on how far this other man relationship goes, how much genuine remorse she shows when she sees sense and how far out of the door I am by the time it happens. Again, although I would love it to happen in the next few weeks, I accept that that is extremely unlikely and I have to be prepared for it to happen in a year or two's time. Interestingly, I have just had a long chat with a female friend of the family who can't believe what walkaway wife is doing. And this is a woman who has been very unhappy with her own husband in the past. She said that my walkaway wife had completely lost touch with reality. I have decided that this week is detachment week. I have let go of a lot of my anger and feel much more peaceful. Although it doesn't take much to get me worked up again. In particular when she is around. I need to go further. I need to think about my future and not our past, or worse still her future and what she is up to with other men. It won't be easy, but at least it's a goal I can work towards. I know there will be times when I fail, but I'll just pick myself up and start again. It's a bit like meditation when your thoughts wander. You just have to keep bringing them back to where they should be time after time. A couple of things happened today that made the future seem much brighter. They weren't even big things, but they put my focus firmly on the future and gave me a much more concrete vision of what a good life without STBX could be like. Suddenly her sneaking around and her bitterness just seemed like the pitiable actions of a small-minded and damaged individual. Not something that is holding my life to ransom. It's truly amazing what a change of perspective can do. I'm under no illusion that this is all one big roller coaster and today's feelings of well-being and optimism will probably give way to more negative feelings. But for now, I feel happy and at peace for the first time in months and I'm going to enjoy it whilst it lasts. A week later, I've generally been pretty good at detaching this week, but had a big bust-up last night, continued in a calmer way this morning. Bust-up was initially caused by her sneaking around with other men without even telling me that she was going out and leaving the kids with me for 10+ hours on a weekend. She swore blind that she had told me, got into all sorts of other stuff, why the relationship broke down. She says that it was just down to the two of us, which I find very frustrating because it completely ignores her pouring her heart out to someone else, her secrecy, etc. She doesn't see any of these as factors at all, whereas I see them as central to the breakdown of our marriage. I also told her that whilst we were still married, in process of D, she should at least out of common decency told me that she was having a R with other man. I also said that we could deal with the situation more amicably and maturely if she would admit his existence. She half admits it but then pulls the only good friends line. Anyway, this morning I said that whilst I thought she was mishandling the situation very badly, I respected her decision to keep it all secret if that was how she wanted to play it. It was actually very liberating letting her own her behavior. And she felt better too, it seems, because we were suddenly more cordial with each other than we have been in a while. I guess I was in that mindset where I wanted to be proven right and for everyone to recognize that her behavior was really very bad. Giving up on that is a big part of detaching. As I have said many times above, anger is actually very attached behavior. So is a thirst for justice in the form of being proved right or being shown to be the injured party. The odd thing too is that she is getting everything she wants, the D she wanted, and now she has other man. But she looks miserable and told me that she is living life day to day. Me and the kids are all being dragged along with her plan for happiness, but she is the least happy person I know at the moment. And still the fog won't lift, and perhaps never will. But she can own the fog. I'm thinking more and more of my future without her. I'm getting into new territory here and I don't quite know how to play it. There are some small signs that she is softening very, very slightly towards me. I'm not quite sure what it means or what to do about it. It could mean that the guilt is beginning to get to her, in which case this is going to be a roller coaster ride because guilt oscillates between remorse and anger. And I've actually seen a little of that today. It could mean that I am less angry and she is responding to that. It could mean that she senses me distancing myself from her and she doesn't like that. Despite the fact that she is pursuing divorce like a woman possessed, perhaps she does still see me as plan B and she doesn't like it evaporated. What it doesn't mean is that any sort of huge hallelujah I've made a terrible mistake moment is just around the corner because other man is still in the picture. In fact, rather pathetically, she is beginning to dress like him. Out goes the sophisticated feminine look and in comes fleeces, jeans and walking boots. That's exactly what he wears and she seems desperate to ape him and to look like the outdoors type that she absolutely isn't. This has crash and burn written all over it. But I don't quite know how to play these softer moments. I don't want to let her in, but I don't want to completely push her away either. She takes rejection very badly and is likely not to try again if harshly rejected once. I want her to feel that if she wants to cozy up to me, she is going to have to try very, very hard, but that it is not completely impossible. Any suggestions? Meanwhile, I've got a lot of passive-aggressive sulking behavior in the past couple of hours. Perhaps that's the guilt pendulum. Or perhaps that's because she has found the book that she gave me for Christmas in the trash. It's okay for her to treat our marriage as disposable, but throwing away a book she didn't even bother to write anything in it when she gave it to me is a mortal sin. I'm just laughing at this behavior now, which is good because it makes me feel more in control. I'm observing rather than analyzing. And mostly today I've been observing the wheels coming off her dream. It makes me feel stronger that at last I seem to be doing better than her. It makes me feel more in control and the ability to watch her suffer without the slightest desire to comfort her, and perhaps even a little pleasure at her discomfort, makes me feel like I'm getting over her. And the idea that she is realizing that I am getting over her and doesn't like it makes me feel good too. Went away for a few days with the kids. She suggested it, and I knew that when she suggested it, she just wanted us out of the way so she can spend a dirty weekend with OM. I went anyway simply because it was for the good of the kids. Now from what I can see, OM is an out-and-out narcissist. Can't help himself. Today a friend sent me a link to a photo of himself he posted on the internet a couple of weeks ago. Looking through his album, I find some photos of them in bed together this weekend, nicely tagged with time and place. The place being a city where she was supposed to be visiting her family but in fact went with him. Face is disguised, but I can tell that it is her with him. They're trying to be discreet about all of this, but as I say, he just can't help himself. I thought I would be very, very upset, but I'm not. I want to say that it's like a switch has been flicked in my head and suddenly I just don't care about her anymore. But I'm sure it's not that simple. But that's how I feel at the moment. I was upset over the weekend thinking about them together. But now I've seen the pictures, I just feel quite cold about it. Everyone I've shown his profile to says, what a complete jerk. He only posts pictures of himself, no one else features. And either look at me, I'm an action man situations, or really pretentious poses. Clearly the attraction is that he is the complete and absolute opposite of me in every way possible. I am very glad to say, I have heard people talk about women trading down when they have affairs. Does anyone have any info on that? Anyway, the bottom line is that her appalling behavior just seems to make it easier and easier to turn my back and walk away. It feels like I'm finally really ready to do that. Anger had been the main thing holding me back. Anger really does keep you attached to the object of that anger. But now I feel like a cat who is playing with a mouse. She doesn't know that I know, and I will play my hand when I feel good and ready. Well, the wife come clean about the other man and their dirty weekend together. Thinks it's okay because we're getting a divorce. Thinks she deserves happiness no matter what the cost to me or the kids. Still deep in the fog. Says our marriage was horrible for her and that the breakup had nothing to do with other people. Even though she admits to having been on secret dates and set up secret email accounts 6 months ago. Denies that other man was waiting in the wings even though he miraculously appeared a few days after she said she wanted a divorce. Sometimes I feel calm and detached, and other times I get angry and feel the pain. I will certainly be laughing when the self-obsessed narcissist dumps her, as he so obviously will. She doesn't know that I know that he has put pictures of them in bed together on the internet. Maybe she doesn't even know, unless of course she is reading this, and he has put up a dirty picture of himself, covering his not-so-manly bits but nothing else, as his main picture on FB, a picture obviously taken by my wife. Somehow, it's easier to deal with now it is all out in the open. Of course, there is always the roller coaster, but when I went to bed last night, I felt quite peaceful for the first time in as long as I could remember. Suddenly there was nothing to fight, no struggle to prove that she has been lying to me, both for my own sake and for the sake of my legal case. I had also felt quite humiliated each time she asked me to look after the kids so she could go be with other man. Pathetic. I know, but it's the male pride thing, and it doesn't feel nearly so bad now it's out in the open. Plus, she now has to look at her kids and say that she is going to see other man rather than being with them. I have to admit that the damn internet photos of them together still get to me a bit, but I'll get over that. Confronted her about photos, claimed she had no knowledge they were on the internet, told her that clearly her and OM were trying to rub my nose in their affair. She strongly denied it, saying that it was nothing to do with me. I asked her to take the pictures down. She said she had no control over what he did. Told her it was reckless of her to allow someone to take compromising photos of her without any control over what happened to them. Net result, pictures taken down within the hour. I bet narcissistic OM hated having to take down his prized trophy pictures of my wife. I imagine she consulted her lawyer, who told her to remove all evidence of her adultery immediately. She's angry as hell at me, but that's standard practice for a cheating wife who has been busted, I understand. But she doesn't regard it as cheating since we are divorcing, although I wanted to divorce her. The irony is that she is divorcing me. She is certainly behaving immaturely and without any thought for whether she is hurting others. She is pursuing her happiness, and that is all that matters. My question is whether that is really who she is now, or whether, if she ever comes out of the fog, she will be a more caring, compassionate person. I just don't know, and I would like to. I might just be able to reconcile with someone who showed real remorse and really understood how hurtful and selfish her actions have been. I could never reconcile with someone who didn't get that. A week later, not much new to report on the domestic front, although the with the other man is in theory out in the open now. She continues to hide behind half-truths. I'm just going for lunch with him. I'm just going to a show with him. I'm spending time with friends like him. I'm taking some time for myself. It's exhausting living with it, and the kids can see right through it too. She has asked if I can have the kids over a couple of weekends so that she can go off and have a nice time, presumably with other man. Fine, I'll have a great time with the kids while she chooses to be elsewhere. I had a bit of a breakthrough last night after a long discussion with her. I suddenly realized that the reason that I have been angry for months is that I just want some acknowledgement that I ever meant something to her. That the marriage once meant something to her. Everything she has done for the last 6 months, from well before D-Day, just screams you don't mean anything to me and you never did. She even told me that she never loved me. I just filled enough boxes on the potential husband material form. Now that I have realized that I have been engaging in this most toxic form of approval seeking, I can do something about it. In fact, I already have, without even trying. As soon as I had that moment of realization, I felt much less angry and much more peaceful. Her actions and opinions seemed much less important, including a with other man which seemed specifically designed to upset me. From rubbing my nose in pictures of them together to choosing an AP who looks like such a complete jerk. It isn't true. Hey, look, I chose this over you. Fine, you own it now and I am not going to give you the power to hurt me anymore. Although I feel so much more peaceful, I also feel incredibly sad today. However, I welcome the tears as I take this to be part of the mourning process and a sign that I have taken another big step in letting go. I had another huge wave of sadness this evening. Again, though, it felt constructive. It felt a bit like saying goodbye, and afterwards I felt very calm. Everything seemed to be so much more in perspective. I can view my wife more sympathetically, with more understanding of her bad behavior. Even if I could never condone it and still see it as hurtful, I can even admit that other man might actually be a human being somewhere underneath all the narcissism, and that there might be some genuine reasons why my wife enjoys spending time with him. My first instinct was to want my wife to see these changes in my attitude, so still some way to go in detaching from her. But self-realization is a big part of the battle, and I feel myself slowly turning away from her and from the past and towards the future with my kids. So, she sends me a text asking if I'll look after the kids whilst she goes to hospital sometime this week. Of course, I immediately call to see what is wrong, what I can do to help, etc. It turns out it's nothing major. But she says that she is genuinely surprised that I cared. Said that she thought that I just wouldn't give a crap at all. A nice little moment of tenderness, but it has led to hours of pain. I feel dragged right back into the middle of it all. I let my guard down and let her in, and now I feel that stabbing pain right at my core. Started having dumb fantasies about how this one little bit of real emotional contact might be the start of some sort of reconciliation, before I told myself not to be so stupid. I keep telling myself that I am nearly over her, but clearly, I am nowhere nearby. How long is this going to go on? She certainly did get to me, far more than I thought she would be able to. I think she was upset yesterday because I moved a wedding photo that she tossed aside a couple of months ago. I didn't like seeing it casually discarded like that, so I took it. It was on my side of our bed that she now sleeps in alone. It's been over 3 months since D-Day, so time for a reassessment. And it really doesn't look good. I'm just not moving on in the way that I should be. First, a quick update on the facts. Still living under the same roof. Divorce still going ahead at full speed. She's divorcing me. Her is still going strong and is completely blatant and in your face. On a fair day she just disappears first thing in the morning and comes back in the evening with no explanation. In terms of exposure, etc., I get the impression that they are quite open about their relationship and that she has been adopted by his circle of friends. For her, that is her new support network as she goes through the D, so all the more reason to cling to it. So, where am I? Not in a good place. I'm slowly, all too slowly, detaching from her emotionally. But I'm still living in the past. I think on one level I just don't want to have to accept that I'm getting divorced and the life I have known for so long is over. I'm afraid of the future, not so much emotionally but in practical terms. For one thing, I live in a very, very expensive city and the divorce will kill me financially, and that is a huge worry. I can't make any plans because the whole thing is up in the air. Mentally, I'm just focusing on all the wrong things. I'm living in the past. I no longer think about her at 24/7 as I used to, but when they are together, I can't get it out of my head. It's just so blatant, but she thinks that she is doing nothing wrong and it is me who has the problem. In a way, she's right. I still think about R, even though I know that it is incredibly unlikely. All that mental energy needs to be focused on the future, on how I'm going to rebuild my life without her. At least I can say with some pride that I am very much there for my kids as we go through this difficult situation together. They don't see any of this. I did finally say to her some of the things that I needed to say. About our marriage, about her affairs, about the future. I never got the opportunity to say any of these things before because she just told me that it was over and then ran away. She wouldn't have any further discussions. She had achieved closure, or thought she had, and she didn't give a damn about where I was emotionally or what I had to go through. She was a complete coward. She still hasn't done me the courtesy of giving me any answers at all beyond I was unhappy and I did everything I could, which she didn't. I can see a very bright, happy future for me and my kids, but I'm just not doing anything to move forward towards that future. Partly that is because the whole divorce process has to work its way through before I can take any practical steps, but that is just a convenient excuse. Mentally, I need to be focusing on that future, but my head is too full of regrets, what ifs and thoughts about OM and the affair. I have now realized that her cowardice in just running away emotionally has not done me any favors in terms of getting over this and putting the issues to bed. But those are the cards I have been dealt and I must deal with the situation as it is. The fact that I am thinking about her at all is not good. I guess in some ways I just want to see her punished for what she has done and how selfish she has been. Just quietly accepting what she has done, putting it to one side and moving forward is the wise thing to do, but it feels like such a cop-out. Completely letting her off the hook. It kinda reminds me of Dylan Thomas's poem Do Not Go Gentle Into That Good Night. It's one of his finest and is about not just quietly accepting death but raging against it. That's how I feel about divorce, but the rage is pointless and only hurts me. I do not want to go gentle into that good night, but I'm going to have to do it. I'm doing my best to rebuild things and to get out more. I've got involved with a new group of people at church who have been very supportive, and over the winter I helped out at a homeless shelter once a week, but she didn't know I was doing that. She thought I was out with friends. I would do more of this, but 1. I need to stick close to the kids and spend as much time with them as possible. I'm the only one helping them through this, and 2. Our financial situation is not great and I can't spend too much money. Update. Revenge is a dish best served cold, as the saying goes. Once the court process is over, I will have a free hand to act. But actually, by that time the blowback may have already knocked her on her backside. She thinks that her BF is the love of her life, but in reality, he is a narcissistic player who is using her for a bit of short-term fun whilst she is free to act like a single woman. But whilst she's having her fun, she is also digging a deeper and deeper hole for herself. In a number of different ways. Both legally and emotionally. I would just prefer the affair to end sooner rather than later so that I can see if she defogs, see whether there is any hope for R, and see whether I actually want R, which I will only be able to judge if the opportunity presents itself. She has been so awful I don't know if I want her back at this stage. That's what I would like help with. If that doesn't happen, then D happens for certain. Either way, she crashes and burns very badly sooner or later because her is not going to last forever. As far as socializing is concerned, I've got a new and very supportive social circle that includes quite a few women. One of them is a journalist who wrote a dating column in a local paper for a couple of years. Another runs a beauty salon with loads of clients who is dying to fix me up with some of them. A male, recently divorced friend has just thrown himself into the dating game and he is beginning to have a lot of fun and he's dying to show me the ropes. And I'm also starting a course for those dealing with divorce in about a month. So that will open up a new and very safe group of people. That course tends to throw up a relationship or two every time it's run. I understand. So, no shortage of opportunities or potential introductions. In a way it's almost too much. I want to start a little more slowly with no pressure. Expectations. Months later, update. The situation with my walk-away wife and other man is ongoing. She is spending more and more time with him, to the detriment of the family. I think that everyone, but her, knows that it can't possibly last, but she is still completely in the fog, still thinks that she can have it all. Meanwhile, OM is showing true signs of being a piece of crap, again, plain for everyone but her to see. The divorce is still proceeding, driven by her. But let's just say I am not exactly putting obstacles in the way. I expect more developments in the next few weeks and will update, but can't talk about them now as they are all about the legal process. So that's what hasn't really changed. What has changed a lot is me. I have gone through this baptism of fire and come out the other side. I have managed to tap into my inner strength and inner wisdom. I feel far stronger and more centered than I ever did, even before D-Day. Life is still full of challenges, and I don't quite know how I'm going to meet them, but I know that I will. All the mental energy that I used to expend on worrying is gradually being redirected to thinking about the future. I never felt before that I was a worthwhile or worthy person. I was completely insecure. Now I have much more regard for myself. I am not out of the woods yet. Do we ever really get fully out of these woods? I wonder, but I am beginning to emerge from this process a more secure, more confident, and generally better individual than the person I started it as. And my STBX now has a legacy of lying, cheating, and dishonesty to overcome, and she is finding it very, very difficult. I have to say that for me that has been the greatest lesson of all of this. To accept that you cannot control everything. Before all of this happened, I was so busy trying to control everything or worrying about the things I couldn't control and thinking of myself as a perpetual victim of circumstances. I have started living for myself a bit, but my main focus remains the kids. They already have one parent who has run straight into the arms of another partner, and I don't want to make that too, as I think that they would feel completely abandoned. I also do not think it is right to enter into a relationship until I am fully divorced. That said, I have a nice little friendship developing with a young lady. I don't see her too often, but when we do see each other we seem to be drawn together and enjoy spending time together. I have no idea how she feels about me, but we'll see if that goes anywhere. Nothing's going to happen overnight, but something that builds slowly is good for me right now. Final update. Haven't updated for a while, partly because the divorce process has been taking up so much time and energy. He's still going through complications as regards kids, turning into very, very expensive process. But I am very positive about the future, feeling good about myself, etc. My comment, that was the final ending from OP. He is moving on at last. He knew he had to detach, but he still thinks about her a little bit too much. It is hard to detach, but in the end, he should be okay as long as he stays away from this woman.